everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sessions with your host, Paola Rodriguez. I am a Latina sex therapist in the beautiful city of Miami. And if you're a virgin and we're popping your cherry, subscribe to my channel if this is your first time here. I am here with Gabriela and Stephanie, and we're about to get into some deep, caliente conversations. So you guys, let me introduce these two wonderful women. So Gabriela Wanderlust, she is the CIO of Break Up Like a Boss. She created a company dedicated to helping people and others break through after their breakups. Her mission is to encourage others to live with positive intentions, purpose, and passion. Gabby has published 2 bestsellers on Amazon, and her future dreams entail a 3rd book and also opening up an after-school program curated to teach kids self-development and the importance of self-love before making big lifetime decisions. I love this. Guys, awesome books. I have this one. I don't have this one yet, but they're amazing and they have great content. I met Gabby through Stephanie, and when I heard her story, I was curious, intrigued. I just needed to know more. Stephanie, she's a fellow Colombian from Cali, Colombia. So she speaks very similar cultural language to me. She was born in Colombia and came here when she was 16. Stephanie and I met through Toastmasters. And if you guys don't know, Toastmasters is an organization that really helps people with public speaking and leadership skills. Stephanie is a communication advocate and lover. She is a business development specialist, and she's committed her time and energy to study business communication. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but 65% of startups don't make it. There's many reasons, but 65% because the partners, which are usually best friends, siblings, because of communication issues.
Absolutely.
Stephanie is a communication, she thinks that communication is at the core of her passion and her profession. She believes that as an individual, difficult communications lead to deeper levels of connection with others, and it ignites her fuel. Stephanie believes that listening, which is a core component of communication, has helped deepen relationships with partners and clients. It allows her to build solid and trustful associations with the intention and purpose to make them last a lifetime. Guys, welcome.
Yay.
You know, something that when you talked a little bit about listening, right? In our culture, we don't really know how to listen. Guys, so we're all Latinas here, right? And I always talk to my clients about our soup. In our soup, we have sazon, pollito, papita, and guilt, right? As Latinas, are we predisposed to the emotion of guilt?
Absolutely, I
What do you
believe
think?
so. Well, to start with, we had previously had conversations how we culturally at home, we are instilled these beliefs that women should, know how to keep quiet and not to make a big fuss of things because you just don't look feminine and you're just not meant to be expressing too much, I guess, just to make things confrontational and maybe challenging for the communication at home and eventually with your partners.
Yes,
So
very mixed message, right, guys?
Yeah.
Because we're told, be powerful, be independent, pero calladita te ves más bonita, which means quiet, you look prettier. Gabby, what do you think? And Gabby, talk to us a little bit about your story. Like, what inspired you to write 2 books, right? And just tell us how you got here, because this is how you and I became friends, and I just love your story. Dale.
So guys, this is crazy, right? So I created my company after my divorce. I was married for almost 10 years to a Saudi Muslim. I'm Catholic. I was raised in a farm in the south of Peru, very religious, very traditional. My grandma used to say, no preguntes cosas que no quieres la respuesta. Meaning, don't be asking questions that you don't want to hear the answer for. Meaning, turn the blind eye and just enjoy your life and don't care about what's happening around you, right? So I did that for so many years, and I ended up being married to someone for almost 10 years who was gay, right?
Wow.
He is Muslim. We lived all over the world. He's Arab. He was very controlling, like the perfect macho man. And then one day, you know, things didn't work out. Fast forward, now he's dating a makeup artist for my friends.
Yes, you know what I thought? Because, okay, so Gabby grew up in Peru. And, you know, being a white, right, like blonde Peruvian, which already gives you a different status in that country.
Exactly.
Right? And then,
So true.
and something that she talked about was, you know, since I was very young, I was programmed to find someone wealthy.
Yeah.
Right? Which is exactly what happened. And Steph, you know, again, we speak in very similar cultural languages. You know, there are dichos, right? Something that says, la lengua castiga, o no busque lo que no se le ha perdido, which is the tongue punishes and don't look for things that you're
not looking to find, like
Gabby, you don't want to face the answer for.
Which implies that when something goes wrong, that we should have done something different or that we can control the outcome.
It's pretty much like your fault.
Yes.
To be causing that outcome.
That drama.
Yeah, exactly.
How does it go from like being like a real life situation to dramatic behavior? And like everything falls on you because you can measure your feelings and emotions. So you're supposed to be very passionate and loving when you have to. But then you're supposed to keep quiet when you're supposed to as well.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly, absolutely.
And when you're trained like a wife, you're like, you learn how to like sew, iron.
Okay, tell us more. Wait, Gabby, what do you mean being trained as a wife? Can you tell us what that
in my
means?
family, personally, I grew up in the south of Peru, right? Very traditional Catholic. And if you were either very, very smart, like to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, or you were very pretty, like you were going to be a beauty pageant, you're going to get married, and you are as good as the hand you hold to the altar in church, meaning your value as a woman is as good as the guy you're going to marry.
Exactly, wow.
And that's it, that's where it ends up, and we're trained to, you know, like handle a household and be housewife and please the man really until there's no more pleasing, you know what I mean? There's not more pleasing of yourself.
That is crazy, yes.
Steph, tell us, so I'm from Bogota and Stephanie's from Cali. So I wonder, what were some of the messages that you got? Because even in different cities, you guys, I think even the messages change.
Yeah, for sure.
So I wonder for you, so when you think about marriage, relationships, a woman, what were the messages that you were taught as you were growing up?
Cali is a little smaller than Bogota. Maybe not.
But it's a beautiful city. My mom is from Bugaballe, which is close to Cali.
Not for maybe much compared to maybe a city in the US, but honestly, when growing up, I grew up with a different like limiting belief versus what Gabby maybe experienced. I come from a broken family per se. My parents divorced when I was 4. And basically what I saw was I grew up thinking the woman needs to provide for everything and the woman needs to solve all the issues. So when I was maybe honestly until right now in my mid-30s, I'm realizing, you know what, it is possible to build a partnership where both can be, you know, helpful, and eventually I do believe maybe that's going to be a little traditional in my beliefs, that I do believe in marriage and like building a family with kids. But before, I strictly believed that I had to make sure my financial situation was all settled before I would decide to, I don't know, become a mom, because maybe the man was gonna leave and was gonna probably not provide at some point.
Oh wow.
You guys can imagine, right? Like if that's the way that we're brought up, right? Like when a relationship doesn't work, I meet so many women in my practice, Latinas, women of color, that in a way it's like it is our job to keep the relationship together. Right, and we're eventually going to talk about sex in our next episode. But, you know, when we think about that, it's like if something doesn't work out, I have to keep it together. I have to make it work. And thinking a little bit about those messages. And if you're single, eres una solterona, or, well, are you going to go out like that? ¿Te vas a poner eso? right?
Yes.
¿Y por qué no te pones un poquito de labial
Yes.
para ver si te miran más, right?
Yes.
Like, there's all of this.
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
I hear my
completely.
mom there.
Absolutely. No, and this is so funny, real quick. Like, now that you're mentioning that, back in New Year's Eve, we were at my boyfriend's friends. We were sharing, we're ready to celebrate New Year's. And one of the men in the meeting, he's Venezuelan, from Venezuelan background, and everybody there was Venezuelan. And then they were asking me like, oh, so where you're from, this and that. They were getting to know me, and how old are you? The subject
Which
got
is
brought
like, why
up.
are you asking for my age?
And I was like, you know what? I'm 33, which I don't mind giving that answer. I don't really care. And then the guy is like, oh, but you have to hurry up because the wagon is leaving you.
El tren se te va.
Yeah.
El tren se te
El
va.
tren se te va, which is a saying in our Spanish culture. And I was like, I didn't want to continue that. I didn't see any substance in maybe, going back to him on that comment. But I was like, wow, this is so interesting how, our cultures, especially Hispanic culture, I believe, may process that information and like also give women these messages. Like
That's when you
saying.
tell him, el tren ya se te fue. That's when like the train already left him because this like
Oh,
beliefs
yeah.
are like from like 100 years ago.
But
That's when you
but
tell him the
we
train left you
get-
already.
Yes.
But we get those messages all the time. Like, guys, for as long as I knew, I never wanted to have children. And just to self-disclose a little bit, I always knew it. I remember my high school boyfriend said to me, I can't wait to see you barefoot and pregnant. I don't know about the barefoot. And I was like, what? I always knew. And it was so hard to stand to that to my family because as the years passed, but what do you mean? That's a woman's job. You're supposed to procreate. Is it because you don't want to mess up your body? No. They would find reasons for me.
Right.
Until one day I told my mom, Mommy, you want me to give birth and I'll give it to you. Oh, no. I don't want, entonces,
Yes.
so I think it is, even though, Gabi, like you say, this is so cavernícola,
Yeah.
right? It's so old school, but we still, as women, get this message all the time. This just happened to you in New Year's.
Exactly.
Right?
No, and in your subconscious, in a way, maybe at this point in life, the three of us, I know because we've connected, because I believe we're very strong-minded women, but in a way, like deep down, it kind of like sabotages some of the beliefs that you have sometimes, and it just like scrambles like very deep inside that you're like, wow, am I not being good enough and living up to the society's expectations, and not to mention, of course, like your direct family.
Yeah, but do we really want to be alone? Do we really now want to have
Right.
kids? Or is it that we're too afraid to jump into that side of the pond? Sometimes I have to analyze, and see like, do I get scared to look at the bridge over the river? Or am I scared of crossing that bridge?
Tell us more, Gabi.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
So in the last couple of years after my divorce, I've been like considering both options. I've been promiscuous. I've been hooking up casually. I've been like looking for serious like partners. I was like, should I have kids? Should I not? And you know what? In the end of the day, no matter how successful you are, no matter how hot you are, right? If you go to sleep alone and you don't have a support system, and I have a support system, I have parents, I have a sister, I have a niece, like I have a very good support system. I'm not sure that not having a family is the answer to give us freedom, right? Sometimes in your commitments, freedom is found. So in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of research. Like I said, I've been going back and forth in this bridge,
Write the amazing books.
and all in the name of research.
In the name of research.
All in the name of research. Now I found myself, especially maybe because of pandemic, right? I do feel that like a family is the nucleus of society. And if I'm going to delay having children because at one point I'm not gonna be able to, go on yachts and go on trips and date whoever I want, maybe, it's something that you have to do now, the sooner the later, no? I don't want to be like 10 years from now and still doing the same things, like jumping on boats, going with guys, and like being on tables and going out for dinners. Me personally, I've done that research and it works differently for everyone, right?
Of course.
But you have to kind of do the self-awareness work, and it's hard, girls. It's hard work.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you.
Well, and I think that's why we gravitated to each other, right? Because I remember when I met Stephanie at Toastmasters, you know, we went to dinner afterwards, and her and I just started talking. And when we started talking, we're like, oh my God, there's so much here. And Gabby, you too, guys. I think about a Netflix show. We have seasons.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yes, they do. We have seasons. As a human, we have seasons.
Exactly.
And because the three of us have really curious mind, which curiosity is what keeps you alive. Imagination is what makes you wonder. People that are incarcerated and can still imagine a scene, it is the antidote to death.
Yes.
Right. So I think for us, when you say that, Gabby, of course it makes sense, right? Like you want to evolve. If you don't evolve, you know, and that's something that I see people in relationships, that when people start to change, they're like, oh, but why did you? Well, of course we're gonna change. We cannot, you know. Imagine I run into my high school friend who's like 35 and still selling weed. I'm like, bro, you know, you're still selling weed. You're still doing the same shit. Like, thank you, pero hello, right? So I think, you know, it is important to evolve and change. Guys, we're going to be right back with some sex topics. So stay tuned. Bienvenidos and subscribe to Sexxions. Bye, guys. See you soon.